Women don't miss men they have too much of. They miss the ones they can't fully figure out, the ones who aren't always around, the ones who seem just out of reach, yet unforgettable. How to make any woman want you, even when she's not interested, starts with this. You stop trying to be what she thinks she wants. You start being what she can't control. This isn't about games, it's about reality, and this reality will either wake you up or keep you stuck. Comment, I refuse to chase, if this speaks to you. Number 1, don't chase. You're trying too hard for someone who's not even trying at all, and that's the problem. You've been sold the idea that effort is noble, that chasing shows commitment, that persistence proves your value, but in the real world, in the relationships you're living in today, that belief gets you overlooked, disrespected, and emotionally drained, because the more you show up uninvited, the more you shrink in her eyes, and that silent rejection you feel, that emptiness you sense when your message is left unread, when your energy is returned with coldness. It's not in your head, it's real, and you keep pushing through, hoping that if you just do a little more, care a little harder, show up a little louder, maybe she'll finally see you. But the truth is, she already does. She just doesn't value what she didn't have to work for, because value isn't in how much you give, it's in how much you keep. And what you've been doing is bleeding energy for someone who doesn't even flinch at your sacrifice, and you call it love, you call it trying. But what it is self-abandonment disguised as loyalty. You've been neglecting your goals, skipping your workouts, losing sleep, overthinking everything you say, constantly checking your phone like it's holding your worth in those notifications. And this isn't about love anymore. This is about control. And the moment you start needing someone to see you before you see yourself, you lose the battle with your own dignity, and it's time you flip that, not by becoming bitter, but by becoming better. Not by hating her, but by choosing you, because no one wins by chasing a connection that only runs away, and you already know what that feels like. The late nights questioning if you said too much, wondering if you should have played it cool, searching old texts for signs that never meant anything, and deep down you feel it. You're giving too much, you're reaching too far, and it's time to come back to you, to choose silence not as punishment, but as power, to choose space not to manipulate, but to remember your worth, to wake up tomorrow and focus entirely on your schedule, not hers, to stop looking for signs in her behavior and start giving direction to your own life. Because when you stop chasing, the world starts chasing you. Not instantly, not overnight, but eventually, because you finally become someone worth noticing again, and it starts small, by holding back a text, by letting go of the fantasy that she'll change if you just love her right, by reminding yourself that your future doesn't deserve to be delayed by someone who won't even reply on time. And when the thoughts come back, when you're tempted to send just one more message or like one more story, pause and remind yourself how you felt last time. Remember the anxiety, the emptiness, the way your confidence collapsed slowly as you kept pouring into someone who didn't care enough to pour back. And don't repeat that cycle, not because you're scared to feel again, but because you finally respect yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who doesn't even bring you a bandage. And if she cared, she'd show it, not through excuses, not through breadcrumb replies or passive validation, but through consistency, attention, and effort. And until you see that, assume you're alone and act like it, not as a victim, but as the beginning of your return. Because when you stop chasing, you don't just reclaim your time, you reclaim your energy, your focus, your identity, and every part of you that got lost in the pursuit of someone who couldn't even meet you halfway. And if you're asking what to do now, the answer is simple: redirect. Channel that energy into your habits, your goals, your craft. Replace waiting with creating, replace hoping with building. Set routines that protect your focus, and build a life so valuable that anyone who left is now just a lesson in your eyes. And don't look back unless it's to see how far you've come, because chasing isn't just unattractive, it's exhausting, and you've exhausted yourself for too long trying to force someone to see what was always obvious, that your presence is a gift, not a given. And if they can't see that, stop showing them and show yourself, then go deeper, because the version of you that no longer begs for love deserves guidance rooted in truth. And that's exactly why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists. It's not just a book, it's the path back to yourself, built from timeless principles that teach you how to lead with strength, choose with clarity, and love without losing who you are. For every moment you've asked, "Why do I care more?" or "What do I do now that they've pulled away?" This book answers with direction, not empty comfort. And now, for the first time, the audiobook version is available, so you can listen to the words that realign your mind while walking, training, driving, rebuilding. The link is in the comments. Go get what your future self is begging you to hear. Number 2, let silence speak. You think staying quiet is losing, that if you don't say something now, you'll be forgotten, that if you hold back your words, you'll lose her for good. But you don't realize silence isn't absence. Silence is presence without begging. Silence is a boundary that speaks louder than every late-night text you've ever sent just to feel noticed. Silence is what happens when you stop arguing with reality and start listening to what people show you instead of what you wish they'd feel. And when someone doesn't respond, when they take days to reply, when they only message when they're bored, your silence becomes your answer, not your weakness. Because when you stop filling the gap with explanation, you finally give space for truth to show up, and this is the part you avoid. The fear that without constant contact, you'll disappear from her mind. But have you ever asked yourself why you need to be remembered by someone who only remembers you when no one else is around? Why you're so afraid to disappear from someone who's already emotionally gone? And maybe the truth is, you don't fear silence. You fear who you become in it. You fear facing the fact that you gave too much too soon, that you were building a future with someone who only saw you as temporary entertainment. And instead of facing that truth, you chase conversations that go nowhere, repeat cycles that drain your self-worth, read receipts like they're indicators of value, and ignore the message her silence is screaming at you, that her interest is gone, that your words have no weight because they're always available, and you keep talking, keep sending paragraphs hoping one will finally break through. But words don't make someone stay. Absence does, because when you remove yourself, when you stop sending good morning texts to someone who never asks how you're doing, when you stop checking her stories to feel close to someone who left you emotionally weeks ago, you start to feel the edge again, that sharp part of yourself that remembers who you are without their attention. And you need to hold that silence like a sword, not as revenge, but as self-respect. Not to punish them, but to protect your peace. Because when you keep talking to someone who's done listening, you're not expressing, you're begging. And every time you break that silence just to feel seen, you lose another part of the man who didn't used to chase, who used to have standards, who used to be respected. And maybe you forgot what it feels like to walk away, to leave a conversation unread and not check your phone every 5 minutes for a reply. Maybe you forgot what it's like to enjoy your day without wondering if you're enough for someone who doesn't even ask how you're doing. And if that silence feels heavy now, good. It means you've finally stopped numbing it with distractions, and now you can rebuild, not with empty gestures or fake detachment, but with true detachment, with discipline, with inner control that says, if you wanted to talk, you would, and since you don't, I won't. And yes, she might notice the change. She might wonder where you went. She might come back with a dry, hey, but by then, your silence will have done its job. It will have built the new version of you, the one who doesn't need validation to know his value, the one who lets go of what doesn't flow, who doesn't chase after confused people, who doesn't lower his frequency to stay on someone's mind. And when that message finally comes, you won't reply right away. Not because you're playing games, but because your life is full now, your mind is focused now, your energy is expensive now, and when they ask where you've been, you'll smile, because in that silence, you found yourself. In that quiet, you remembered that your voice doesn't have to fill every space, that you don't need to force connection where there's no consistency. And in your silence, you reclaimed power, not to be loud, not to be arrogant, but to be grounded, to be steady, to be the one who doesn't need to talk just to be heard. And from this point forward, every time someone starts fading, you don't chase. You listen. Every time someone shows you they're unsure, you don't ask why. You accept it, and you never explain your silence to someone who caused it, because anyone who respects you won't question it. And if that silence scares them, then maybe, just maybe, it's the first time they realize you're not always going to be there waiting. And maybe, just maybe, that's the only way they'll ever see your worth. Number 3, be less available. Always being there becomes a habit formed by fear of being forgotten, fear of missing a chance, fear that if space is created, the connection will disappear. But availability is not proof of love, it's evidence of insecurity, and constantly being reachable, responsive, and waiting on edge sends a silent signal that nothing in life matters more than someone else's attention, which is the fastest way to teach others to treat your time as disposable. And the irony is in the sacrifice, the skipped workouts, the delayed goals, the rearranged plans, all of it done for someone who didn't ask for it, doesn't care about it, or worse, expects it. Because it's been given so freely for so long, it's lost all meaning. And in trying so hard to stay close, life drifts further and further from direction, and the only thing that remains consistent is the feeling of being unnoticed, overlooked and undervalued. And the question isn't why they don't appreciate the effort. It's why the effort was ever given without boundaries in the first place. Because availability without purpose is just desperation disguised as devotion. And the way back isn't punishment, it's principle. When time becomes valuable again, so does the energy. And building that begins with saying no, with missing a call without panic, with not rearranging a week around the possibility of a vague maybe, with answering when ready, not when needed. And it's not about becoming cold or playing hard to get. It's about no longer living in reaction to someone else's unpredictability and instead setting structure that breeds confidence. Because a person rooted in their goals, in their standards, in their movement forward doesn't wait for texts, doesn't hover around phones, doesn't lose sleep over someone else's indifference, and availability is restructured by choosing the schedule first, the routine first, the priorities first, and recognizing that being busy with purpose creates magnetism. That when focus is directed inward, the attraction shifts outward, not because of what's done, but because of what's withheld. And when presence becomes rare again, interest returns not always from the one who faded, but from others who feel that energy rise. And it begins simply, with full days and full silence, with projects completed without checking for messages, with moments experienced without needing to share them instantly. And those who belong will respect the boundaries, and those who don't will resist them. But that resistance isn't rejection, it's revelation. It shows who only valued the access and not the person. And that truth, while hard to sit with at first, becomes the foundation for stronger interactions moving forward. Ones where availability is earned, not expected, where time is measured, not assumed, where presence is respected, not consumed, and transformation begins when the need to constantly be around is replaced with the desire to consistently evolve, when effort is pulled back not to prove anything but to preserve everything that matters. when conversations become quality, not quantity, when replies come after results, when energy flows into plans, not people, and when presence feels earned again, respect follows naturally, because a life full of passion, direction, and self-leadership doesn't chase attention. It commands it, not by force, but by frequency, not by noise, but by absence. And every missed call not answered is a signal sent inward saying, goals matter more than games. Every event not skipped is a declaration of worth. Every minute protected is a minute invested in becoming the version of self that never needs to be reminded of their value by someone else's temporary validation, because a person with a full life is always attractive, and the truth is, the only way to become unforgettable is to become unavailable to the things that made you forget yourself in the first place. Number 4. Stay mysterious. Mystery doesn't mean hiding who you are. It means never giving everything away too soon, because the mind respects what it doesn't fully understand, and attention is sustained when there's something left to explore and reveal, and the mistake most make is thinking vulnerability is about exposure, when in truth it's about discernment, about understanding that giving someone access to your mind, your past, your plans, your every emotion from the start, removes the very tension that holds interest. And while honesty is vital, over-disclosure is not. And what often begins as an attempt to be open quickly becomes emotional dumping, done in the hope that deeper connection will be built fast. But what actually forms is boredom, familiarity without foundation, and attraction without pursuit, and mystery is removed when every text is answered in detail, when every question is met with full transparency, when every location is shared, when there's no pause between what you feel and what you say, no delay in revealing what took you years to become. And in this current dynamic, where over-availability and emotional exposure are worn like proof of connection, the one who holds back just enough becomes unforgettable, not because they're playing games, but because they operate from self-awareness and restraint. And while society tells you to lay it all out, to show your intentions early, to flood the conversation with truths and transparency, the reality is attention thrives on uncertainty, on wondering where someone stands, on sensing there's more, but not being able to access it immediately. And it's not about creating confusion. It's about requiring effort to access your depth, about not giving high-level insights to someone who hasn't even earned low-level presence, about letting curiosity build naturally. And the solution is not to become cold, but to become careful, to understand that silence, delayed responses, and privacy are not signs of disinterest, but boundaries that protect your value from being consumed before it's earned. And those who want everything up front will always leave early, because they never intended to stay long enough to discover anything real anyway. And presence becomes power when it's not constantly explained and shown and broadcasted to people who've done nothing but offer attention with no intention. And that's where mystery lives, in choosing when to speak and when to hold back, in answering indirectly without being vague, in showing up fully without exposing everything, in telling stories that reveal character but not entire history, in sharing passion without turning your soul into an open book for someone who sees you as a moment, not a movement. And when you practice this, interest deepens, not because you're withholding for control, but because you're preserving what matters for the ones who matter. And the practical shift begins by pausing before speaking, by letting messages sit, by not always reacting, by recognizing that not every emotion needs to be shared to be valid. Not every memory needs to be told to create closeness. Not every thought needs to be texted to feel seen. And the deepest attraction you'll ever create comes when someone realizes they've only scratched the surface and still think about you when you're not around, because you didn't flood them with content. You gave them just enough to wonder, to reflect, to reach out again and again and again. And most people today move on, not because the connection wasn't real, but because it was consumed too fast and left nothing behind. And you reverse that when you stop being emotionally impulsive and start being emotionally precise, when you create space between thought and expression, when your words carry the weight of patience and not the urgency of insecurity. And that's when you become the one they remember long after the noise fades, not because you were distant, but because you were disciplined, because you gave them something rare, an experience they had to earn, not one that begged to be understood. Number 5, control your emotions. Emotions are not the enemy, but ungoverned reactions are the fastest way to destroy respect. And when attention becomes scarce or affection turns cold, the first instinct is to react. Call twice, send a long message, explain feelings, demand answers, show how much it hurts. But that impulse to express is rarely about truth and often about validation, about trying to feel significant again to someone who has already decided to make you invisible. And what feels like standing up for connection is often standing in the ruins of dignity, trying to gather scraps from a person who's already looking elsewhere. And the solution isn't suppression, but redirection, because power doesn't live in emotional absence, it lives in control. The kind that feels everything but acts only when the action aligns with self-respect, not impulse, and when disappointment shows up, when disrespect hits hard, when silence cuts deep. The test is never what's felt. The test is what's done with it, and every moment of emotional clarity is earned through restraint, through holding the line when the urge to break it becomes unbearable, through resisting the temptation to fix a broken bond with more effort that only makes the break wider, and control begins in awareness, in catching that instant where emotion wants to erupt and choosing to breathe instead, to walk instead, to write instead of send, to wait instead of chase. And when that space is created between feeling and response, power is found, because in that pause is the truth that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every disrespect needs confrontation. Not every cold message needs decoding. And most situations do not fall apart because people stop caring. They fall apart because one person can't sit with uncertainty without needing to control it through expression. And when control is built, life shifts. Not because pain disappears, but because pain no longer dictates decisions, because decisions made under emotional pressure rarely serve growth. They serve relief, and relief is not the same as resolution. And most people don't realize how much damage they do to themselves by reacting quickly, speaking too soon, venting too often, giving into every low emotion without examining its purpose, its timing, its alignment. And this doesn't mean you become a stone. It means you become a filter. You feel deeply, but you express wisely. You choose your moments not because you fear conflict, but because you refuse to lower your standard of expression for someone who doesn't earn your vulnerability. And emotional control is not coldness, it's calibration, it's strength. It's the deep understanding that reactions cost energy, and energy must be protected, not spent on people who've already proven they misunderstand your value. And the pathway to that control is built brick by brick, in silence, in reflection, in action, not words. Because growth is not declared, it's demonstrated. And each time someone pulls away, ghosts, disrespects, ignores, criticizes, or tests your value, there is one question you must ask before any response. Does reacting serve my future or soothe my ego? And 9 times out of 10, silence wins. Not because silence always fixes things, but because it protects your integrity in the face of disrespect. And every time a reply is withheld, every time a message goes unanswered, every time a comment is ignored that once would have pulled you into defense, something grows inside. The version of you that is no longer available for emotional manipulation or validation games. And this is the man that commands attention, not the man who explains why he deserves better, not the man who cries to be understood, but the one who understands himself so well that silence becomes a boundary, not a tactic, and this is how respect is born, through consistent composure in situations where others expect chaos, through discipline in environments designed to test limits, through action that reveals stability and sends a clear signal that emotions exist, but they do not drive behavior, and the moment control is mastered is the moment emotional freedom begins, because what they do no longer decides who you are, how they act, no longer dictates how you feel, and your identity becomes internal, not conditional. And that's when confidence begins to radiate without words. That's when presence becomes felt without attention. Seeking, that's when every move becomes intentional, because nothing shakes a person more than facing someone they cannot provoke into desperation. And if that's the goal, to become untouchable emotionally, not through detachment, but through depth, then it begins by observing every trigger, every response, every instinct, to overshare and rewiring the system, to choose stillness over reaction and peace over proving a point. And in that stillness, you realize most conflicts were never worth your energy. Most texts were better left unread, and most people never wanted resolution. They just wanted control over your reaction, and once that control is gone, so is their power, and what remains is peace, clarity, and the rise of a life no longer ruled by other people's ability to press emotional buttons. Number 6, focus on yourself. Focusing on someone who barely gives you effort back drains you not just emotionally, but mentally and spiritually, because every second spent trying to decode mixed signals, waiting on a dry reply, adjusting your day hoping for a call, or showing up for someone who's never consistent, is time robbed from your own evolution. And what most don't want to admit is the truth. They've been investing everything into someone else to avoid doing the real work on themselves, because chasing validation is easier than confronting the silence, than facing the mirror of their own neglected purpose, because fixing someone else's interest feels more comfortable than fixing their own identity, and so they wake up checking notifications for meaning instead of checking in with their goals. They go through days craving attention more than discipline, and they end up living for one person's approval instead of becoming the person who doesn't need any. And here's what most never realize. When life is empty, distractions feel like love, and when a person has no mission, affection becomes the mission. And that's the trap. Being so emotionally hungry that the bare minimum looks like a meal, that someone's inconsistency starts to feel normal, even romantic, when in truth, it's just chaos disguised as connection, and the way out isn't a better reply. It's a better routine, not a better partner, but a better foundation, because true peace comes when your mornings start with movement, not messages, when your evenings end with reflection, not regret, when your plans aren't waiting for someone's time, but are dictated by your own ambition. And this doesn't mean you never love. It means love doesn't distract you from growth, and growth doesn't pause for affection. And if someone wants access to your heart, they meet you on the path you're already walking, not derail you from it. And that begins when focus is redirected, when instead of texting for comfort, you train for clarity, when instead of scrolling through someone's feed, you scroll through your own timeline and see just how long you've been stuck waiting on someone to care instead of caring for yourself. And if the energy isn't being returned, then it's time to return it to the source, you. And the simplest path to that is creation, creating structure, progress, results, not for applause, not for revenge, but for identity, because no relationship can fix the lack of one, and the more you build, the more people feel it, the more attractive you become, not because of looks or charm, but because direction is magnetic, and people follow those who don't need them. And the irony is, the same people who once overlooked you often circle back when your focus no longer includes them, when they feel they've lost access to the version of you that used to orbit their silence, and by then they're not returning to love you. They're returning to control you again, to see if they still can, and you must not fall for it, not out of bitterness, but out of principle, because the path forward doesn't include detours that bring back old habits, and the goal isn't to prove anything to them, it's to prove everything to yourself, to look back 1 year from now and see that the pain didn't end you. It introduced you to your real beginning, to the version of yourself that's too focused to be pulled, too committed to be swayed, too valuable to be wasted. And every gym session, every journal entry, every early morning, every night spent learning instead of seeking connection. Every time you said no when you used to say yes just to feel needed, those are the building blocks of the identity that doesn't beg, that doesn't chase, that doesn't wait. And the more you create, the more you discover that the love you were waiting for had to start internally, that the loyalty you were hoping to receive had to be directed inward first. And when that becomes the standard, when your world becomes so full of direction, people either rise to meet you or fade away silently, and you don't fight either outcome, because focus means you keep moving regardless, not out of spite, but out of clarity, out of the understanding that no one is coming to save your purpose from neglect, that no one is going to hold you accountable to your potential, but you. And when that becomes your truth, relationships no longer become escapes. They become additions. They no longer replace your mission. They align with it. And when someone pulls back instead of crumbling, you adjust, you recalibrate, you pour deeper into what matters, and life rewards that focus not immediately, but eventually, with peace, with options, with self-respect that isn't shaken by someone's inconsistency. And from that point, relationships no longer define you. They reveal who's compatible with the reality you've built, and if no one fits, you keep building anyway, because your growth doesn't depend on company, it depends on consistency, and that is what separates those who keep chasing from those who get chased. If you're tired of being the one who gives everything and gets nothing, if you're done being told to try harder while being quietly discarded, it's time you arm yourself with the truth they never wanted you to have. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint isn't just a book, it's the knowledge society hopes you never find, because once you understand these timeless principles, you stop chasing and start choosing. You stop begging and start building. And now it's available in audiobook format, so you can listen while walking, training, or reclaiming your life piece by piece. This isn't theory, it's transformation. It's linked in the comments. If you're ready to take back control and never feel disposable again, comment, "I choose clarity," like this video, and subscribe, so we can help more men escape the lies, avoid years of regret, and finally live with the power they were told to suppress.